Michigan Liberation is a statewide network of people and organizations organizing to end the criminalization of Black families and communities of color in Michigan. We envision a state without mass incarceration, mass policing, and punishment. We envision a state with the best public education in the nation, single-payer health care, and thriving Black and brown communities. Here on the Respect the Roots podcast, we will lift up the stories and experiences of those impacted by mass incarceration, collective ties to the criminal legal system, and the frontline efforts to end mass incarceration.
What's up, everybody? This is Miss Marjon. We are in part 2, a journey from incarceration to redemption. If you missed part 1, you want to make sure that you check it out. I'm looking at all of y'all, okay? And we still have my guest, Marjani. The first episode we did was Surviving Huron Valley, WHV, Huron Valley. And the second one, this part 2, is Healing Beyond Bars, Life After Huron Valley. If you missed the first one, make sure right now you get the first part 1, all right? We are into part 2. This is part 2, all right? Now, Marjani, we just finished talking about in part 1 where you're going through your final court date, right? And tell us what happened, because we just barely scratched the surface of it. And I just want to thank you. I thanked you in the last episode, but thank you again for coming and being
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Being so transparent and real. But I'm gonna be quiet, shut up, and let you go ahead. Tell us.
So I got sentenced. My original plea that I accepted was voluntary manslaughter, 9 years.
Right.
And literally like 30 minutes before I went into the courtroom, my attorney got it down to 7.5. So I took it for 7.5, and then I was shipped off to prison. It was crazy because how the prison works, if you get sentenced to 6 years or more, they put you in level 4, which is like maximum security, 23-hour lockdown in your cell. 23 hours, you get your food, fed to you through the slot in the door. Like, it's horrible. So you're supposed to do that for 9 months in a day. But thank God I was only back there for 3 months because I was a seg porter. I was a porter. I cleaned up, the cells in segregation, which were the cells where, like, basically the bad girls would go. They got in trouble for fighting or tattooing or something you got no business doing. You went into those cells. So I cleaned them, and I had a good rapport with all the officers. I didn't get in trouble. I didn't get any tickets. So they actually waived for me to be released into general population into a level 2, which is less, security and less strict compared to the level 4. But level 4, that was a jungle. It was horrible back there. Those 3 months, that was horrible.
3 months, wow. Yeah. And let me ask you this. At your last court date, and the transition from jail, you go into jail for like 10 months, because that's what you were saying in the first episode. You went to jail for 10 months, and then finally you were sentenced, right? Is that how it is? Because we got to learn the terminology.
Yes.
You were sentenced in this final court date to go straight to prison, Huron Valley, which happens to be, by the way, everybody, in Michigan. It's the only women's facility, all right? And if you missed the first one, please go back. But I'm telling you, the first episode. But Marjani, you were being charged with, or, pretty much for manslaughter. You had an issue where your friend's boyfriend, you and him had an altercation because of the abuse and craziness he was doing, inflicting on her. Yeah. And you was trying to be, like you said, Captain Save-A-Ho.
Yeah. Inserting myself in some business I had no business inserting myself into.
Little drinky drink going on that night, and liquid courage.
Shit got real.
Yeah, it got real.
Basically.
It got real. So, and thank you for being transparent. And because some people, like I said, they're going to go part 2 and then go back to part 1 of this series and everything. So the thing is, you go into Huron Valley, women's correctional facility, and tell us, you're there. You said for the first couple of months or so.
It was horrible. It was like they threw me into the jungle. Like, no orientation. Level 4 is horrible. Like, I mean, when you first get to prison, you're in what's called RGC, And, you know, you're there for however long they want to keep you until a cell or a bed is available. But with my sake, I had to go to level 4 because the fact that I got sentenced to more than 6 years. So
Wow.
6 years or more, you automatically, there's no getting out of it. You have to go to level 4.
For
And
a
like,
certain period of time.
yeah, yeah. You're supposed to be back there for 9 months and a day, but they did waiver, you know, people with good behavior and things like me. So I made sure I didn't get in trouble or whatever because I didn't want to stay back there. It was horrible. You had women yelling through this door, throwing feces and stuff on officers.
What?
Like, it was crazy. A lot of those women back there, like, they're very institutionalized. And some of them, they had less time than me. But because they constantly kept getting in trouble, kept racking up points, kept getting tickets, like, their fate was to stay back there and do their time back there. And I personally did not want that for my life. So I did what I needed to do so I could get the hell up
out of there. Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said in the first episode, you know, we get our stereotypes or our visual thing about prison from these TV shows, or if we happen to have loved ones or people we know incarcerated.
Yeah.
Okay. But tell us, you were there.
Yeah.
And what was it like? The daily routine?
Yeah.
Like from the time, what time did you have to get up? What time did you have to go to bed?
Yeah.
All that.
Well, first I'm going to look at this camera. Crime does not discriminate, okay? Because it was people
Oh,
in
wait.
there.
Do it again, Marjani.
Crime does not discriminate, okay? Anybody can get it. Because it was people in there that were
Yes.
doctors, lawyers, teachers,
What?
seamstress. Yes, committing whatever it is that they did. It was all types of people in there. You know,
Yes.
crime does not discriminate. The mornings started really early. I would say the mornings would start at like 6:30 a.m. They would
Okay.
announce over they had this like big intercom in all of the different units
Yeah.
that would announce chow. So that's how you know, it's breakfast time. It's time to walk to the chow hall for breakfast. And they would do that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Lunch, it really depended on what the meal was and how long it took for them to serve all the women.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of people don't know is Huron Valley is overcrowded. I believe it's only supposed to have like, I think maybe 1,800 women, and it has like surpassed that to the point of they've turned ARUS, or should I say prison counselors' offices, to cells, making them multi-man cells, 16-man cells, 14-man cells, 10-man cells, 4-man cells, just stacking us on top of each other with these metal bunk beds. So it was horrible.
Minute.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah. I know if you're listening to this, you probably saying, isn't that illegal? Is that even?
You would think, but once again, going back to it being the only women's prison in the state of Michigan, I don't know where the disconnect was between these jails and this prison. Like, why weren't they telling them, like, hey, can you have another resolution as far as what you want to do with this young lady? Because we don't got no room.
Right.
But so there was a disconnect. So sometimes it took a really long time for us to eat lunch. I wouldn't eat lunch. It was a couple times I wouldn't eat lunch till like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and we'd have 4 o'clock count. You know, we have count time where you have to be on your bunk at a certain time, and they did count 3 times a day. Count was done, I believe, at 9 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, and then at 11 o'clock.
Wow. Wow. Now, Marjani, if you're just joining us, Marjani's here telling her story about being incarcerated you were given, what, about 7.5, 8 years
Yep,
or so?
I did. I was sentenced to 7.5, and I did 8. 8 because of COVID and them not releasing you until you fulfilled the required courses that they wanted you to take.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. You know what? With that, let's go right into that. So you talked about some of the conditions. Well, no, you haven't even scratched the surface about the conditions. It was more like what was going on with some of the people inside that were incarcerated, but also the meal time. So what was that like? Did you have classes Monday through Friday? What did you do on the weekends?
I was a very active prisoner. I will say that. I tried to participate in everything positive that I possibly could. At one point in time, I was a facilitator for Alcoholics Anonymous. I did Celebrate Recovery. I would go to church. I was in the choir. I even directed the choir at one point in time. I learned how to play the piano in prison. I did yoga. I did weights and aerobics, elites. I did everything positive that I could possibly do to better myself and to also get out of my cell, because the conditions were just horrible. If you didn't have financial support,
meaning like your family,
if you didn't have
putting
friends
money
or family contributing, giving you
on
money
your books
to buy your necessities, things that you needed, it would be really hard for you, because a lot of the like porter jobs, you were only getting like 69, 79 cents a day. And so you only get paid once a month. So that's like a $17, $19 check. And you're supposed to get all your essentials and food with that. It's impossible. You unfortunately have to sacrifice and have to choose. Am I going to buy food or am I going to buy my hygiene? So a lot of times you had women, of course, they're going to buy their hygiene. So that meant that they made it their business to go to breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, even if it was a meal that they didn't necessarily like, because if not, they would starve.
Wow. Now, Marjani, you mentioned something we definitely need to talk about, COVID. What were you was there during COVID?
Yeah, COVID was horrible. I felt like they punished you even when you didn't have it. So let's say I'm in a 2-man cell, right, and my bunkie tests positive for COVID. I would get penalized and be put in quarantine because she has COVID, even though I don't have it, but I'm going to get treated like I have it by being isolated. And they were placing the women in the field house, which is our gym. They were putting beds in the gym and had women who did not have COVID housed in this gym. There was no phone, so you couldn't call your family and let them know what's going on. You only could write them letters. They would transfer, food trays to the gym. You couldn't leave the gym. Obviously, like, you were just all in this gym, crowded. And when it got too bad, where COVID was sky high in the prison, then they don't have any more room in the gym, so now we're going to put you in segregation. So now I'm in what's considered a 23-hour, 24-hour lockdown facility. You have me over there with the bad girls, the ones that did stuff they ain't got no business doing, and you're treating me like them. Even though I did nothing wrong, you're treating me like them because I'm back there with them.
Wow. And here's the thing that gets me. I know what it was like. All of us who still living, know what it was like to deal with COVID outside of a prison. And you felt like you was in prison because you was in your home. In some cases, with your family members or whoever you live with. And I can only imagine what it was like being in prison during COVID. Because that's why I appreciate you being so transparent and real and describing that. Because also talk about, before we because we're almost about a minute away being halfway through, because I definitely want to talk about the moment when you realized you was getting ready to get out of Huron Valley. What was it like psychologically? What was going on in the head? Like, first of all, you probably was trying to catch up the fact I'm in here. Yeah. And I'm going to have to do 7 years, even though you weren't going to do no longer than that because you had prayed about it. But what was that like? Did you finally realize, oh, shoot, I'm going to be in here more than just 10 months or a year and all that? What was going on in your head, Marjani?
It was crazy because, like, the whole time I was in the county, like, the only prayer that I kept praying to God was, like, I took accountability for what I did. Okay, I did it. There's no way around that.
This is when you was in jail?
Yeah.
First.
Like, I know what I did. I took accountability. I'm guilty. I'm not going to deny it. And, you do the crime, you do the time, obviously. I didn't think that I deserved the amount of time that I got. However, the one prayer that I always prayed to God was, whatever I get sentenced to, God, just please give me single digit. Please don't give me double digit. Just please give me a single digit number. I'll try to thug it out and, do what I got to do. Right. And so I was so thankful when I did get sentenced to a single digit number. I mean, it wasn't a number I liked, but God answered my prayer. And so I'm very thankful and grateful for that.
Right. And you were busy. So
Yeah.
Monday through Sunday, you was
Yeah, I was doing something.
And
Yeah.
then finally, how, that could be a whole nother episode. But Marjon, you're coming back because we got to talk about during the time that you served. But
Yeah.
when did you realize you was getting close to your release date? What was that like? And then what happened?
When I had to see parole, well, actually, when I got my date that I had to see the parole board, that's when I knew, like, shit was real. Like,
Right.
This parole board, these people, my life is in their hands. Like, they decide whether I'm going to stay here a little bit longer or if I'm finally going to be able to get home to my mother.
This was your first time in front of, because you already knew you were going to have to serve at least 7.5 or 8
Yes.
years or whatever.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the state of Michigan has truth in sentencing. So there's no early release. Oh, you've got good behavior, we're going to let you out. No, if you get sentenced to 10 years, you're doing 10 years. You get sentenced to 20, you're doing 20. There's no way about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so you got in front of the parole board and everything. And what was that like? And
Oh, my anxiety was through the roof. I was so nervous. But I thank God that my mom was there, because you could bring someone to be like a representative on your behalf. So I'm so thankful that my mom was there and that she had nothing but good things to say about me on my behalf. That really helped. And then just looking at my credentials, like everything I was involved in, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't a saint. I did get in trouble a couple times and have to go to segregation, unfortunately, like for fighting or something.
right.
But overall, my overall prison bit, like, it was positive. I involved myself in nothing but positive things just for my growth and to be a better person. And it showed because, parole board looked at those things. And then, like how I am with you, I was very transparent and honest, told my story, what transpired, what happened, what I'm doing now, what I plan on doing upon my release. So I'm just very grateful and, thankful that they allowed me to go.
Wow. And so when they said, okay, we've granted your release, how long before you were released after meeting with them?
It's kind of a blur. I don't really remember when I saw parole board, but I know, like, it took forever. I kept waiting, like, wondering, like, when are they going to give me a decision? When am I going to know that I got my parole? So, like, I finally, eventually, I want to say maybe 2 months later, I think it was. I
wasn't
received a letter.
years.
Yeah, no. 2 months later, I want to say, I received a letter saying that I received my parole, but it didn't have a date. So then that gave me anxiety because I'm like, okay, I know I'm going home, but I don't know when.
Right.
And so that was, like, really frustrating. And then I finally received a letter saying that I would be released June 9th, 2021.
Wow.
And so I came home June 9th, 2021.
Man, Marjani, thank you so much. And here's the thing. We got about 10 minutes. I want to now fast forward. You're out.
Yeah.
Your family comes and picks you up and everything. We want to talk about two things. Well, one of the things we talked about offline is church hurt in prison and even the resources afterwards.
Yeah.
Tell us, what is church hurt?
Ooh,
Church hurt in prison and then even the lack of resources afterwards.
So I will say, first things first, everything that I said I wanted to do, I did it.
Do it again, because
everything that I wanted to do, that I said I wanted to do, I did it.
And that was in prison, right?
Yes, everything I said I wanted to do, I did it. I got out. I got into school. I went to nail school. I got my license in that. I'm a licensed nail tech. I got me a car. I did everything that I said I wanted to do because I didn't want to be a burden on anybody and I wanted to be self-sufficient. But that church hurt was a big thing for me when I was released because while I was incarcerated, we would have the churches come in and they would do sermons and they would pray for us and tell us that they would have these resources and stuff for us. But then when you get home, it's like, where was the church? The church was nowhere to be found. And I don't remember the exact scripture, but in the Bible, there's a scripture that says, don't forget the widows, the orphans, and the prisoners.
Come on now.
I felt like I was forgotten.
Come on with that.
I didn't get that church support from the church that I was attending before my incarceration or from any church for that matter. And, yeah, I do feel like I was the forgotten ministry that should have been ministered to. You have these people that I honestly believe in my heart that they had good intentions.
Right.
But they talk the talk, but they didn't walk it.
Wow, but that's real. That's real. And we're talking about now, fast forward even till now, it's been 3 years, right? Because I remember we talked about that. So you've been out for 3 years.
Yes.
Okay. And I want to, we got about like 7 minutes. I want to talk about prison post-trauma syndrome.
Yeah, that's real. Just like how people in the military have PTSD, there's PPTSD. There's prisoner post-traumatic stress disorder. You deal with a lot of pain and a lot of hurt because in prison, and I can say this for both the male and female prison, they don't want you to display happiness. If you're always smiling, you're happy, they feel like, oh, you're too comfortable. You can't display sadness. If you're too sad, they want to lock you up and put you in what we call Bam Bam, which is 24-hour watch, suicide watch. Make sure that you're not trying to kill yourself or hurt yourself. If you're too angry, that's considered threatening behavior. They want to lock you up for that. So prison was not a place that you really could show emotions.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just had to walk around with this poker face type
pretty
of thing,
much.
like just being like a zombie.
Right, pretty much.
I'm being funny, but I'm being real.
I could honestly felt like I could not be my true authentic self because if I did, then someone would think something is wrong with me and try to give me a reason to lock me up.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And, Marjani, I know we talked about offline all the stuff. Thank you about telling us about that because we don't understand the trauma that goes on after your release and lack of resources. I've heard this many times before that people get out and it's just if you don't have that village or that's mama.
They give you this sheet with all of these jobs that are supposedly supposed to be felon friendly and it's bullshit. It really is. I'm just keeping it real. It's bullshit. I applied to every last one of those places and a lot of them, if they do hire felons, it's for like petty crimes like
shoplifting,
or like embezzlement or not paying your child support or like stupid stuff like that. Not for something like me. Manslaughter, you're not getting a break. You're not catching a break. They're not trying to. I mean, I was very fortunate to find 2 places of employment that after telling them my story and knowing my background and doing a background check that they still took a chance on me. And so I'm very grateful for that. But the 98%, the other jobs, it was like I would execute these interviews. They would think I was so amazing. And then as soon as they do the background check, they're like, we found somebody else. We can't hire you.
And let's be clear, this is not something that you can get expunged.
Right,
it's always going to be on. Okay, so
yes, manslaughter, even though it's a crime of passion, it's still considered a violent crime because a death was involved. So therefore, I can never get it removed off of my record.
Okay, we got about 4 minutes left. Marjani, I want to end this show. Tell us, because I'm sure we talked a little bit about the family and everything, but healing and forgiveness, like. Did you have to write anything to the family? Have you interacted with them? And how are you doing today, right now?
I did not have to write anything to the family, but I did. So when I had got sentenced to prison, I did write a letter that I read in court, just basically asking for their forgiveness and apologizing for the part that I played in the situation and, just asking that even if it wasn't today, that even if it wasn't next year, but just one day that they would find it in their heart to forgive me for what I did because it honestly wasn't intentional. I never meant to take anyone's life and, that's one of my biggest regrets that I deal with every day. Mentally, now I'm fine. At first, when I first got home, I lived in fear because I worried that my victim's family would try to harass and torture me like they did my boyfriend at the time. So that was something that I was really afraid of to the point where I was afraid at one point of even going to Flint because I didn't know that if I stepped foot back in that city, something bad was going to happen to me. But one day I just woke up and I just decided, I was talking with my mother and I was just like, fuck this. I refuse to live in fear. I'm not going to let anyone decipher what it is that I do and don't do. Like, I'm going to live my life. I did my time. I did the crime, you know, and, you know, I am very remorseful for it. But now it's time to move on, and I have to live my life.
Right. And like you said in the first episode, crime does not have any type of face or
does not discriminate.
Does not discriminate, yes. And I'm so thankful that you came and told your story, and you're so transparent and real because, like you said, one, you know, bad decision can have affected your whole life. Yeah. And I just, with the 2 minutes we have left, what advice, please, Marjani, I'm giving you a new name, Marjani, look into that screen, and what advice would you give somebody who is on the verge of maybe where you were or currently is or been through a similar situation? What advice, and they're still maybe incarcerated, what would you tell them?
I would say that this is temporary. Do not let your crime and you being incarcerated or about to be incarcerated define you. This is just one little obstacle of your life and your journey. Like, God has great plans in store for everybody, not just particular people, everybody. And, you know, I don't regret anything that happened. Everything happened for a reason. It has built me and molded me into the woman that I am today. So I am thankful for that. I don't look at MDOC as Michigan Department of Corrections. It's me deciding other choices. So I knew I had to make better choices if I wanted to get out of that place and if I wanted to be a better person overall. So keep trying to do the right thing. Keep living your best life, knowing that God has wonderful things in store for you no matter where you're at in your life.
That's it. That's when you drop the mic. That was bad. Thank you, Marjani, because you are now getting your bachelor's degree at the University of Michigan.
Yes.
And you're going to get ready to get your master's.
Yes.
So I'm telling all of y'all, I'm sitting here looking, she got all this U of M decor on in here. Hey, it's nothing. No, well, no, I ain't gonna say nothing. You can do it. You can do it. Second chances are real, Marjani.
They are. So look at me, and I don't look like what I've been through.
I want you to say that again and look at it. Look at him.
I don't look like what I've been through.
Yes, looking like the girl next door. All right, shoot. But hey, what we gonna do at the end? We got 30 seconds. Remember to respect the roots. Marjani is what?
Respect the roots.
Let me get you again, Marjani.
Respect the roots.
All right, y'all. Till next time, y'all, make sure you watch the first episode, and this is the second one. Until next time, respect the roots. We out of here. Thank you, Marjani.
Thank you.
Michigan Liberation Education Fund, C3, conducts grassroots organizing, leadership development, and civic engagement activities. Michigan Liberation C4 and Michigan Liberation Action Fund, IE, are sister organizations.